The monarchy is changing before our very eyes, and arguably it is no bad thing.
Can I get a photo, Mr. Charles?
The monarchy only survives if it adapts to what its subjects want to see in the royal family. When it comes to the links with the Commonwealth, they could be fighting a losing battle.
It's time for us to move forward.
Maybe some of these countries are simply hanging on because of the Queen and out of respect for her, and everything will change. So what we think is that the Queen isn't necessarily having health problems, but more mobility problems. She can't stand for long periods, she can't walk for long distances, and therefore accommodations are having to be made. Now, we saw her with a walking stick back in October. That was the first time she had used one since she had an operation on her knee in 2002. But actually the idea of a nearly 96-year-old using a walking stick probably shouldn't shock us too much. We know that she can no longer ride her horses because of a recurrent back problem. We know also that she's not been able to walk the dogs, and she's spending almost all of her time at Windsor these days. I think the palace are handling this very much as they did when the Duke of Edinburgh retired, and he was able to say which engagements he did or didn't want to attend at very short notice. And so the diary has become quite an agile piece of royal equipment in the sense that it's up to the Queen on any given morning to decide what she can and can't do.
As you can see, I can't move.
I think we're going to be seeing more of the Queen in situ, and she might get to where she needs to be in private and then be photographed on the spot. That being said, we had some lovely photographs from Windsor Castle last week. She had had an audience in her own living room. That's going to be happening more frequently now. People are going to be coming to the Queen rather than her travelling to them. When it comes to the royal diary, they've got to prioritise quality over quantity. So when we think about quality over quantity, well, what's the most important engagement to the Queen this year? There's the Platinum Jubilee, but clearly this memorial service for the Duke of Edinburgh was sacrosanct in the royal diary, and despite her own discomfort in recent weeks, and indeed months, she was determined to be there. Yes, concessions had to be made to ensure that she was as comfortable as possible, but she wanted to honour her beloved husband. It's these sorts of engagements that she will move heaven and earth to attend, and I think it's only fitting that she was there leading from the front. Yes, of course there's a role up close and centre for the likes of Charles and Camilla, for the likes of William and Kate, even the Wessexes now and Princess Anne stepping up to the plate. But at engagements like that, the public does expect to see the Queen, the so-called jewel in the crown, front and centre. I mean, this idea that we're only going to see the Duke of York at this particular memorial service and then not again for the foreseeable future does change the dynamic of the royal family. There isn't a place for him in public life right now, and there might not be again, and therefore you have this meeting of the royal family, the old royal family, and that might not be configured again in that form ever again. And we've had all of the reflections on William and Kate's Caribbean tour, and the Duke of Cambridge himself saying that he plans to do things a little differently, that perhaps this era of never complain, never explain is over, that actually it might not be appropriate for him to be the next head of the Commonwealth when the time comes.
I want to say this. We support with pride and respect your decisions about your future. Relationships evolve, friendship endures.
What we're seeing really at the moment is monarchy modernising before our eyes as a result of the events that have happened, be it what's happened to Prince Andrew, the departure of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, the Queen's advancing years, but also I think we're seeing a step change now in response to the times. And clearly it was decided by people observing the Caribbean tour that the way the royals used to do things, the way the Queen used to do things can't necessarily be reciprocated and replicated anymore by the next generation. They're going to have to do things differently. It was always going to be inevitable that things would change because you've got the Queen on the throne for 7 decades. And what's interesting is the royal approach has always been, what should we do? We're going to go to the Caribbean, what should we do? And the answer is usually, well, what did we do last time? And they refer back to what the Queen did.
Jamaica, largest island in the British West Indies, second stop on the round-the-world trip of the British royal pair.
But because the Queen is a woman of her time, and because she is of a different generation, and because she has been on the throne for such a long time, actually the comparison doesn't really work with anybody else. So this scene of William and Kate on the back of the Land Rover trying to recreate the image of the Queen and Prince Philip doing the same in Jamaica in the 1960s, it doesn't quite work because William and Kate are of a different generation and Jamaica's in a very different place to where it was 60 years ago.
Those days are done. The monarchy is a relic.
The monarchy only survives if it adapts to what its subjects want to see in the royal family. This has always been the Queen's mantra. You know, we are only around for as long as our subjects want us to be, and actually if they look like they're disconnected from the reality of 21st century life, then they're not going to stand the test of time. When it comes to the links with the Commonwealth, they could be fighting a losing battle. We could see a domino effect now. Barbados has become a republic, and we've now heard from Jamaica saying the same.
We are moving on.
That all of these countries follow suit when Charles is on the throne and the Queen is no longer with us. Maybe some of these countries are simply hanging on because of the Queen and out of respect for her, and everything will change. And that's what the royals are prepping for, I think, behind the scenes. This idea that the kind of monarchy that we've had and the kind of monarchy that people now expect might be two different things. Of course there's respect for the Queen. In fact, you can have an argument with Republicans about the future of the monarchy, and they are even hard-pressed to criticise Queen Elizabeth herself, because there's this sense that she has been a stalwart monarch and a monarch for her times and adapting to different times as she's gone along in her reign. But what was appropriate for her isn't necessarily going to be the case for Charles and William. A, because of their different age and the generation they belong to. B, because Prince Charles has always been a more polarising figure than his mother. And C, when it comes to William, well, he needs to appear probably more down with the kids and more in tune with public thinking. And at the end of the day, we know history has shown us that if the royal family doesn't adapt, then it doesn't survive.